Ayman Mohyeldin, he justifiably questions whether Israel has really found that the hospital, the Al-Shifa hospital, is somehow a control center for Hamas. More than likely, in my personal opinion, just based on the evidence that they attempted to show, which was so minimal. It was so minimal, the evidence that they try to show, it could almost be a setup. But listen to what Ayman had to say, and I think it'll put it into better perspective.
When you hear about the reporting from Al-Shifa Hospital, what's your sort of assessment about what's going on here?
Well, the first thing I think of is back in 2008 when I was based in the Gaza Strip, and I would go to the Shifa Hospital to report frequently on all kinds of stories. These allegations that the Israelis have been making literally for 15 years. You can go back to 2008 and see Israeli officials making the same statements that Al-Shifa Hospital was being used by Hamas as a command and control center. Sometimes they would call it the headquarters. They would say that's where the prime minister at the time would be hiding. And all I could tell you is based on my reporting there for years, I've been there hundreds of times, walked around all of the complex of Al-Shifa Hospital, never once had anyone interfere with our reporting, telling us you can't go here, you can't access that. That's one. Two, I think it's important for viewers to understand that a lot of the doctors who work at Al-Shifa Hospital are foreign doctors, meaning they're volunteer doctors. Yeah. They come from the UK, they come from Sweden, some have come from the United States. And many of those doctors as well, we hear the language sometimes that the doctors and the hospitals are run and controlled by Hamas. But the truth is these doctors are Americans, Europeans, certainly no allegiance to Hamas whatsoever. And they have spoken openly about what they have seen and how they were never denied any access to anywhere in the hospital grounds for them to be able to go and see for themselves. That's not to say it's not true. I'm just saying it's been 15 years of these allegations, hundreds of reporters who have passed through those hallways, hundreds of doctors, including local and foreign doctors who have come through there, and never substantiated by anybody outside of the Israelis and now the Americans.
The president was asked point blank about the intelligence he had that the Al-Shifa Hospital was a Hamas headquarters. He said clearly in a press conference yesterday, Hamas does have headquarters weapons material below this hospital, and I suspect others. The U.S. is very out front on this. Yeah. And it feels like a lot hangs on the IDF's ability to show that this, in fact, was a Hamas headquarters. Right. This feels like an incredibly weighted moment for all of this. And I wonder what you make of Biden's strategy thus far.
So again, I would say as a journalist, where is the evidence? Where is the intelligence? I'm old enough to have remembered 2003 and the whole weapons of mass destruction debacle in Iraq. So I err on the side of caution when it comes to governments and intelligence officials saying, here's the proof and we're going to war for this proof. Again, it's not to say that it's not true. It's just simply to say we would need to see what that evidence is. And Israel would have to make a compelling case. And they have now been in control of Al-Shifa Hospital for the better part of 48 hours, going on to 72 hours tomorrow. And what we have seen so far raises a lot of questions as to how they have described it. So again, they described it as a Hamas headquarters or command and control. The language has shifted a little bit from command and control to as Admiral Kerber said earlier, a node, a command and control node, which I'm not sure what that distinction is, but it just seems like it's a slightly downgraded description of what's inside. And what we're seeing also really raises questions on what Israel itself has described as its intelligence failure on October 7th. So there's just a lot of questions that I think as journalists, I would be looking at with a more cautious eye before running into the conclusion that the Israelis and the Americans are saying.
Well,
you know, it's not important whether these positions are being held by Hamas or whatever. Look, Hamas is a terrorist organization, but it doesn't justify Israel's massive killing of people to get to these terrorists wherever they are. In these times of technological advances, the thing that we have on our side is time. You wait to knock these people off as needed. Not go in and decimate a population, not go in and invoke what can only be called genocide. You cannot, based on everything that Israel has done in Gaza, that's the only valid assertion one can make about what's occurring there today.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.